Imagine waking up tomorrow to the biggest global power shift in decades, except you didn't see any of it coming. Not because you weren't paying attention, but because the entire fight is happening off the radar, far from the headlines, in a place most people barely talk about. A country that isn't the US, isn't China, isn't a nuclear superpower, and doesn't dominate the news cycle. Yet somehow, it's becoming one of the most important players on Earth. And today, right now, you're about to find out why the world's two biggest superpowers are quietly scrambling behind the scenes over Malaysia. But before we dive in, my mom said I'll never hit 1,000 subscribers. But I know I can. If you enjoy my videos, join the journey, and let's prove her wrong together. Only 5% of you watching are subscribed. If you love stories that completely flip your understanding of the world, smash that subscribe button. It literally helps more than you know. All right, let's begin the journey, because this story doesn't start with war. It doesn't start with politics. It starts with something much more powerful. One, a map that controls the future. Picture this, a single narrow stretch of ocean, small enough to miss on a map, yet powerful enough to break the global economy in a week. This place is called the Strait of Malacca, a 900-kilometer ribbon of water squeezed between Malaysia and Indonesia. It looks harmless. It looks tiny. But don't let that fool you. Every year, over 100,000 ships squeeze through it like a traffic jam of floating giants. Tankers, cargo ships, food shipments, electronics, raw materials, everything you can imagine. Oil from the Middle East, rice from India, electronics from Japan and South Korea, minerals from Africa, all of it, heading straight through this one fragile waterway. And here's the shocking part. Nearly 25% of all global trade relies on this one route. That's more than the Suez Canal. Shut this down even for 24 hours, and the world panics. But here's the twist most people miss. The country in the perfect position beside this artery, the country with front-row control over one of the most important shipping lanes in human civilization, is Malaysia. And suddenly, a country many overlook has become impossible to ignore. But this leads to the real question. If this route is so important, who actually controls it? And the answer is where the entire story begins. 2. The power of being peaceful. Here's something surprising. The world's most strategic locations are often in countries that are unstable, war zones, political crises, collapsing governments. But Malaysia is different. It's stable, it's peaceful. It has good relations with both the East and the West. This combination is incredibly rare. So rare that both China and the United States are watching Malaysia with the precision of a chess master staring at the most important piece on the board. Why? Because you don't need to fire missiles to control global trade. Sometimes, you just need to make friends with the country sitting next to the world's most important waterway. And right now, both superpowers are trying, quietly, carefully, strategically, to win Malaysia's favor. But while the shipping route is the most visible reason Malaysia matters, it's far from the only one, because under Malaysia's soil lies a second source of power, one far more quiet, far more hidden, far more dangerous, and far more valuable than gold. 3. The minerals inside your phone that start a global fight. Quick question. What do your smartphone, your laptop, your earbuds, your electric car, your satellite connection, and military drones all have in common? They all rely on something you probably never think about: rare earth elements. Strange names like neodymium, dysprosium, terbium, lanthanum, minerals that don't sound important, but are literally the backbone of modern technology. Without them, modern society collapses. And here's the crazy part. China controls around 60% of the world's supply and processes an even larger percentage, which means the US relies heavily on China for the materials used in everything from smartphones to fighter jets. To America, that dependency isn't just inconvenient, it's a national security nightmare. So Washington is urgently searching for alternative suppliers. And guess which country quietly steps into the spotlight? Malaysia. Malaysia has rare earth reserves, processing facilities, plants willing to handle radioactive byproducts that other nations avoid, a strategic position outside China, but friendly with China, a stable government superpowers can trust. Suddenly, Malaysia isn't just important, it's essential. China wants to keep dominance. The US wants to break free from dependence. And Malaysia becomes the one holding the keys. But how do China and the US fight over it? Quietly. No public statements, no dramatic announcements, no threats. Instead, investments, training programs, technology partnerships, long-term supply deals, friendly visits, strategic cooperation, a silent tug-of-war. And Malaysia stands in the middle with a smile, accepting benefits from both sides. But this rivalry doesn't just take place underground. A different battle is happening on the water, one far more intense, far more dangerous, and far more likely to spark a global conflict. And Malaysia is caught in that one too. 4. The most tense ocean on Earth. Welcome to the South China Sea, the place military experts quietly call the powder keg of Asia. China claims almost the entire sea, reaching far beyond its natural borders. How? By building artificial islands, radar systems, runways for military aircraft, naval bases, surveillance stations. It's like watching a country build new land out of thin air and then turning it into fortresses. The United States challenges these claims by sending warships through the area, insisting the waters must remain international. Meanwhile, Vietnam claims parts of the sea, the Philippines claims parts, and yes, Malaysia claims parts as well. Now imagine being Malaysia. You disagree with China's expansion. You also rely on China for billions in trade. You cooperate with the US on security, but angering China could crush your economy. Leaning too far toward China could upset the US. And upsetting either one could ignite consequences far bigger than Malaysia itself. So Malaysia does what few nations can. It walks the tightest diplomatic tightrope in Asia. But the balancing act is about to get even harder because another war, not with guns but with microchips, is happening at the same time. And Malaysia is once again in the center of the battlefield. 5. The chip war. Why a tiny component is worth more than gold. If rare earth elements power the modern world, then semiconductors, computer chips, program it. In 2023, the US made a dramatic push, move semiconductor production out of China. Because everything, literally everything, runs on chips. Cars, phones, laptops, military systems, AI spacecraft, banking, energy grids, internet infrastructure. Chips aren't just tech, they're power. So the US began deepening partnerships with Taiwan, South Korea, and, unexpectedly, Malaysia. Here's the part almost no one knows. Malaysia already handles about 13% of the world's chip testing and packaging. That might sound small, but without testing and packaging, the chip industry collapses, and the US knows it. So what does America do? Funds. Malaysian Tech Projects encourages big US companies to expand there, strengthens supply chain alliances, builds semiconductor partnerships, offers new trade and tech benefits. But China sees this too, and China quietly signals, don't move too close to Washington, because China can respond with slower investments, reduced tourist flows, trade pressure, diplomatic tactics, economic consequences. Malaysia now has to make one of the hardest decisions in modern geopolitics. Lean toward the US for tech dominance, or lean toward China for economic stability, or do something even smarter,